Rain hammered the alley behind Rosie's kitchen like bullets on concrete. Elena Martinez pressed her back against the dumpster, trying to shield the cardboard boxes from the downpour, when she heard it, a sound that didn't belong. Not the rain, not the traffic on River Street. Something human, a cough, wet and desperate, coming from the shadows behind the industrial waste container. She froze, keys digging into her palm. 9:47 at night in downtown Savannah, and she was alone in an alley with God knows what waiting in the darkness. Smart women didn't investigate strange noises. Smart women called the police and went inside and locked the door. But Elena had never been accused of being smart. Just stubborn. Recklessly, impossibly stubborn. She pulled out her phone, turned on the flashlight, and moved closer. The beam caught him, a man, maybe 40, curled into himself like a question mark, soaked through to the bone. Dark hair plastered to his skull. 3 days of stubble on a face that might have been handsome under different circumstances. He wore a military surplus jacket that had seen better decades and jeans so worn they were practically transparent at the knees. "Sir." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "You okay?" He looked up. That's when she saw his eyes, blue-gray, intelligent, completely aware despite the shivers racking his frame. Eyes that didn't match the rest of him. Eyes that had seen boardrooms, not back alleys. "I'm fine." His teeth chattered. "I'll move." "Sorry. You'll freeze to death out here." The temperature had dropped to 40 degrees, and with the rain, hypothermia was a real possibility. "Come inside." "I don't need charity." "Good. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering basic human decency. There's a difference." She held out her hand. He stared at it like she'd offered him the moon. "I'm Elena, owner of this bakery. And you are?" He hesitated so long she thought he wouldn't answer. "Daniel. Just Daniel." "Well, just Daniel, you have two choices. Come inside and get warm, or stay out here and risk dying." "I'm too tired to argue, so decide fast." Something in her tone, maybe the exhaustion, maybe the irritation, maybe the complete lack of pity, made him take her hand. His fingers were ice cold. She pulled him up, surprised by his height. Even hunched and shivering, he stood well over 6 feet. Inside the bakery, warmth hit them both like a wall. Elena locked the door behind them, very aware she'd just brought a strange man into her business after hours. Her mother would have called this either faith or foolishness, possibly both. "Sit." She pointed to a chair by the industrial ovens, where the heat was strongest. "I'll make coffee." "You don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I'm choosing to. Let people help you, Daniel. It's not as hard as you think." While the coffee brewed, she studied him in the better light. His jacket was filthy, but had been expensive once. His boots, though worn, were good quality. His hands, though dirty, didn't have the deep calluses of someone who'd been homeless for years. And that face, underneath the grime and exhaustion, she saw something that made her pulse quicken and her warning bells ring simultaneously. This man had secrets, big ones. She brought him coffee and a blueberry muffin left over from the day's inventory. He wrapped both hands around the cup like it was a life raft. "Thank you." "You're welcome. When's the last time you ate?" "Yesterday. Maybe the day before." "I lose track. Lose track of days or meals." "Both." He took a bite of the muffin, and she watched his eyes close briefly. That tiny moment of pleasure in something as simple as food broke something in her chest. "Where are you from, Daniel?" "Everywhere. Nowhere." He opened his eyes, met hers. "Does it matter?" "I suppose not." "Do you have family? Someone we should call?" "No one's looking for me." The way he said it, flat, final, like a door slamming shut, told her volumes. This wasn't a man who'd lost his family. This was a man who'd walked away from them. Or maybe they'd walked away from him. Either way, the loneliness in those 4 words was so profound it hurt to hear. "I have a storage room," she heard herself say. "It's not much, just a cot and some boxes. But it's warm and dry. You can stay tonight. Just tonight." "Why would you do that?" "Because my mother always said we're all one bad month away from where you are right now. And because I know what it's like to be invisible." The words came out before she could stop them. "When I left my marriage last year, everyone who knew us stopped seeing me. Like I ceased to exist the moment I wasn't his wife anymore. So I get it. Being erased. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Really looked, like he was seeing not just her face, but everything underneath. The exhaustion, the fear, the determination, the loneliness that matched his own. "I won't steal from you," he said quietly. "I believe you." "Why?" "Because you just told me you wouldn't." Thieves don't usually announce their intentions. She stood, grabbed a towel from the supply closet. "Bathroom's through there. There's soap. Take a shower if you want. I'll find you something clean to wear." "You're very trusting." "No, I'm very tired. There's a difference." She handed him the towel. "And Daniel, I'm locking my apartment upstairs and the front door. I'm trusting you with my bakery. My mother's legacy. Don't make me regret it." "I won't. I promise." People break promises all the time. Not me. Not to you. Something in the way he said it, the weight behind those simple words, made her believe him. Maybe that was foolish. Maybe she'd wake up tomorrow to find the register empty and Daniel long gone. But standing there in her mother's bakery, looking at this stranger who somehow didn't feel like a stranger at all, Elena made choice. She chose to see him, to help him, to offer dignity instead of pity. She had no idea that choice would change both their lives forever. Elena woke the next morning at 5:15 to her alarm screaming. She lay there for 3 seconds, remembering the homeless man sleeping in her storage room, and wondered if she'd completely lost her mind. Then she got up, got dressed, and went downstairs expecting to find him gone. Instead, she found him awake. The storage room was spotless. The dishes from last night were washed and organized. The supply closet had been reorganized by expiration date. And Daniel stood at the sink, sleeves rolled up, scrubbing the industrial baking pans she'd left soaking overnight. "What are you doing?" He turned, and she barely recognized him. Clean-shaven, hair washed and combed back, wearing the spare work shirt and jeans she'd left him. Underneath the grime had been a strikingly handsome man. Sharp jawline, premature silver at his temples, those piercing blue-gray eyes now clear and focused. "Paying back your kindness," he said. "You gave me shelter. I can give you work. I didn't do it expecting payment." "I know. That's why I want to." He dried his hands on a towel. The rain stopped. "I should go." Elena looked at him, looked at the organized closet, the clean pans, the careful way he'd folded the towel, looked at the still healing wounds on his knuckles and the haunted look behind his calm expression. Made another choice that would have made her ex-husband Victor call her reckless. "Or you could stay. Help out. I can't pay much, $200 a week, plus room and meals. But I need help, and you clearly know how to work. You don't know anything about me. I know you wash dishes without being asked. I know you organize my closet by expiration date, which means you understand inventory systems. I know you didn't steal from me when you could have." She crossed her arms. "What else do I need to know?" Daniel was quiet for so long she thought he'd refuse. Then, "I used to work in business consulting. Before I lost everything. Before I ended up here." "What happened?" His jaw tightened. "My wife died. 3 years ago. Cancer. I built my whole life around work, thought I was building something meaningful. When she got sick, I realized I'd build a prison instead. Golden bars, glass walls. After she died, I just performed. Went through the motions. Until I couldn't anymore. Is that why you're on the streets?" "I chose the streets. Wanted to see if anyone would see me. The real me. Not what I could do for them. Just me." He met her eyes. "You're the first person in 7 weeks who's looked at me like I'm human." Elena's throat tightened. "I see you, Daniel." "Why?" "Because someone saw me once when I needed it. My mother. When I left Victor, my ex-husband, she told me I was finally visible again. Finally myself. She died 6 months later, left me this bakery. It's all I have. Her legacy. Her dream. And I'm terrified every day I'll lose it." She gestured to the rent notice still on the counter. "I'm $1,400 short this month. I work 80-hour weeks, and it's still not enough. So yes, I need help. And maybe you need purpose. Maybe we can help each other." Daniel looked at the notice, then back at her. 2 weeks. Trial basis. If it doesn't work, I'll leave. No hard feelings. Deal. They shook hands. His grip was firm, warm, professional. The hands of someone who'd signed contracts, not beg for change. The next 2 weeks changed everything. Daniel learned the bakery rhythms with unnerving speed. He was clumsy at first with the dough, burned the first batch of croissants, overkneaded the bread. But he listened, watched, took mental notes. By week 2, he was competent. By week 3, he was suggesting improvements. "Your supplier is overcharging," he said one morning, showing her invoices. "I can negotiate better rates. Save you maybe $400 a month." Elena stared at the numbers. "How do you know this?" "I told you. I worked in consulting." "For who? What company?" Daniel hesitated just a fraction too long. "Does it matter? I'm here now. The past is past." She wanted to push, wanted to demand answers, but she recognized the walls in his eyes. She had her own walls. Everyone did. "Fine. Negotiate. But don't make promises you can't keep." He smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him. It transformed his face. "I keep my promises, Elena. All of them." He did. The supplier costs dropped. He built an online ordering system on the library computer. He reorganized the baking schedule, reducing waste by 30%. He created an Instagram account that gained 2,000 followers in 3 weeks. The lines at Rosie's kitchen stretched down the block, and the money came. Enough to make rent with $600 surplus. The first surplus Elena had seen in 8 months. She found him in the kitchen after closing, hands covered in flour, working on sourdough starter. He'd been teaching himself, methodical, patient, precise. "I made rent," she said quietly. "First time in 8 months, I'm not panicking." Daniel turned, saw tears in her eyes. "Elena, I thought I was going to lose this place. Lose everything my mother worked for. You saved it. You saved me." "No, you saved yourself. I just organized it better." "Who are you really, Daniel?" "Nobody's this good at everything unless they've been in charge of something big." He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. "Then, I was someone important once. Someone with power and money and influence. And I was completely empty. So I walked away. Tried to find if anyone would see me without all that. And they didn't. Not until you. I don't care about who you were. I care about who you are right now. What if they're the same person? Then you're someone good who lost his way. There's no shame in that." He looked at her then, really looked, and something shifted between them. The air grew heavy. Electric. He took a step closer. She didn't back away. "Elena." Her phone rang. Her brother Luis. She answered, breaking the moment. "Elena, Victor's here. At Mama's grave. Says he needs to talk to you about the bakery. Says he has lawyers." Her blood went cold. "I'm on my way." She hung up, grabbed her keys, saw Daniel watching her with concern. "What's wrong?" "My ex-husband. He's making trouble. He never wanted me to have this place. Thought I should sell it, invest in his portfolio. Told me I was wasting my mother's legacy on a fantasy. Want me to come with you?" Elena looked at this man, this stranger who'd become essential in 3 weeks, and nodded. "Yeah, I do." Victor Sterling stood at Rosie Martinez's grave like he owned the cemetery. Expensive suit, perfectly styled hair, that smile Elena used to think was confidence, but now recognized as arrogance. He brought a lawyer, some shark in a $1,000 suit carrying a briefcase like a weapon. "Elena." Victor's voice was smooth. "Practiced. You look tired. Working too hard, as usual. What do you want, Victor?" "To help you. The bakery's struggling. I've done the research. You're barely making rent. It's only a matter of time before you lose it completely." He gestured to the lawyer. "Thomas here has buyers interested in the property. Good offer. Enough to pay off your debts and have money left over. You could finally stop this exhausting charade." "Charade?" Elena's hands clenched. "My mother's legacy is a charade? Your mother's hobby? Let's be honest, Elena. You're not a businesswoman. You're playing at it. Sell while you still can, before you lose everything." Daniel stepped forward then, and Elena saw Victor's eyes narrow, cataloging, homeless-looking stranger, protective stance, her obvious trust in him. "Who's this? Your new charity case?" "Someone who sees value where you see failure," Daniel said quietly. "The bakery's revenue is up 35% in 3 weeks. She's not failing. She's succeeding." Victor laughed. 35%? Please. That's nothing. Elena, be realistic. You can't compete in this market. You don't have the capital, the connections, the education. I have something better. I have my mother's recipes and my own spine. Both things you try to take from me. I'm trying to save you from yourself. No, you're trying to control me. Again, you couldn't stand that I left you, that I chose this over you. And now you can't stand that I'm making it work. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mrs. Sterling. Martinez. I took back my mother's name. Ms. Martinez, the offer is legitimate. Market value plus 20%. You'd be foolish to refuse. Daniel's voice cut through, sharp and cold. What's the property zoned for? The lawyer blinked. Excuse me? The zoning. Commercial? Mixed use? Because if it's mixed use, which most of the historic district is, that building's worth significantly more than you're offering. Especially with the new development going in 2 blocks over. You're lowballing her by at least 40%. Victor's smile faltered. And how would you know that? Because I can read. Public records are public. Daniel turned to Elena. They're betting you're too desperate to check. Don't sign anything. Victor's face hardened. Elena, you're listening to a homeless man over me? Someone you found in an alley? He probably wants your money. He's earned my trust. You lost it when you told everyone I was ungrateful for leaving you. When you turned my family against me. When you said I'd fail without you. Elena stepped closer to Victor, voice low and fierce. I'm not failing. I'm thriving. And you can't stand it. This is a mistake. You're being emotional. No, I'm being smart. Get away from my mother's grave. And don't come back. Victor looked at his lawyer, then back at Elena. You'll regret this. When you lose everything, don't come crying to me. I'd rather lose everything than owe you a single breath. Victor and his lawyer left. Elena stood, trembling, adrenaline crashing through her system. Daniel's hand settled on her shoulder, steady and warm. You okay? He's right, isn't he? I'm one bad month from losing everything. No, you're one good month into building something real. There's a difference. She turned to him, saw something in his face, familiarity with men like Victor, understanding of power games, knowledge that came from experience, not observation. Who are you, Daniel? Really? Before he could answer, a black sedan pulled up. A man in his 50s stepped out, expensive suit, lawyer's briefcase, the kind of polish that screamed Manhattan money. Daniel Cross, the man said. We need to talk. Elena felt Daniel go rigid beside her. Watched his face close off completely. Not now, Robert. Yes, now. The board meeting's in 4 days. They need an answer. Are you coming back or not? Elena's brain was trying to process. Daniel Cross. The name meant something. Something big. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking, and searched. The results hit her like a physical blow. Daniel Cross, CEO of Apex Security Solutions. Cybersecurity empire. Net worth, $2.7 billion. Missing for 7 weeks. Company in crisis. Stock plummeting. The man beside her. The man who'd scrubbed her pants. Who'd slept in her storage room. Who'd renegotiated her supplier contracts and built her a website and made her sourdough starter from scratch. A billionaire. Playing homeless. Playing her. Elena. Daniel's voice was desperate. Let me explain. You're a billionaire. Yes. You've been lying to me for 3 weeks. I never lied. I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing. Her voice cracked. I told you about Victor. About being controlled. About being made to feel powerless. And you did the same thing. You decided I couldn't handle the truth. You decided for me. I was afraid. Of what? That I'd see you differently? That I'd treat you like everyone else? So you lied instead. Made me part of your social experiment. Your journey of self-discovery. While I'm actually struggling, you're playing poor for what? Entertainment? Enlightenment? Elena, please. Did you laugh at me? When I offered you $200 a week. When I gave you my mother's old clothes. When I treated you like you mattered. No. God, no. Elena, you're the first person in 3 years who made me feel human. Who saw me? Not the money, not the company. Me. I saw a lie. I saw whoever you wanted me to see. Robert stepped forward. Ms. Martinez, I apologize for the deception. Daniel's been under tremendous stress since his wife died. He needed time away. Don't. Elena held up her hand. Don't make excuses for him. He's a grown man who made choices. Bad ones. She turned to Daniel, tears streaming down her face. You know what the worst part is? I was falling in love with you. With the man who burned croissants and organized my closet and listened to my stories about Mama. But that man doesn't exist, does he? He was just a role you were playing. No, that man is real. More real than I've been in years. Then who are you, Daniel Cross? The billionaire CEO or the homeless baker? I don't know anymore. Then figure it out. But not here. Not with me. She pulled the storage room key from her pocket, handed it to him. Pack your things. Leave tonight. Elena, please. Let me explain. Let me. Get out. Daniel looked at her, pain written across his face, then turned and walked toward the bakery. Robert followed, trying to speak with him, but Daniel waved him off. Elena stood alone in the cemetery, next to her mother's grave, and felt something break inside her chest. Not her heart. Something deeper. The fragile trust she'd been rebuilding. The belief that people could be good without agenda. Mama, she whispered, I think I made a mistake. But she didn't know if she meant trusting Daniel or sending him away. 6 months later, Elena stood in Rosie's kitchen at 5 in the morning, watching Daniel burn another batch of croissants. Something's never changed. He swore in frustration, and she laughed, the sound echoing through the expanded bakery that now employed 8 people and had lines stretching down River Street every morning. You're doing it again. Too much heat, not enough patience. I have an MBA from Wharton. I built a $1 billion company. Why can't I make a decent croissant? Because croissants require surrender. You're still trying to control them. She moved behind him, put her hands over his, guided the dough. Feel it. Don't think it. He relaxed in her touch. 6 months of this. 6 months of learning each other's rhythms. 6 months of truth, even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. It hadn't been easy. Some days, Daniel's instinct to fix things with money kicked in, and Elena had to remind him that writing checks wasn't the same as showing up. Some days, Elena's fear that he'd leave kicked in, and Daniel had to prove through action, not words, that he was staying. Some days they fought, loudly, usually about control, about trust, about the scars they both carried. But they talked, always talked. No more secrets, no more protection disguised as lies. The bakery had been renovated with Daniel's money, but Elena's vision. Same vintage furniture, same photos of Rosie, same heart, just stronger infrastructure underneath. Daniel had wanted to do more, expand faster, open franchises scale nationally, and Elena had said no. This is my mother's kitchen, not an empire. If it grows slowly, organically, real. He'd learned to listen, to defer, to be the support, not the leader. It was the hardest thing he'd ever done. Harder than building Apex. Harder than walking away from it. Because it required daily surrender of ego. But every morning at 5, he showed up. Learned. Tried. Failed. Tried again. Better, Elena said as he finally produced an almost acceptable croissant. You're learning. After 6 months. Some things take time. Like trust. She turned to face him. Speaking of which, your board meeting's next week. New York. You'll be gone 4 days. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. It's your responsibility. But Daniel. Yeah. When you're there in that boardroom, in that suit, being CEO, Daniel, don't disappear on me. Remember you're also Baker Daniel, who burns croissants and reorganizes my spice rack and cries during Pixar movies. I'm both now. Still figuring out how that works. We both are. Their relationship was like that croissant dough. Layered, complicated, requiring patience and heat and pressure and faith that something beautiful would emerge. They'd kissed for the first time 3 months ago, after a particularly brutal day, when Daniel had wanted to throw money at a supplier problem and Elena had stopped him with a hand on his chest and said, we do this the right way, the honest way, even if it's harder. He'd kissed her then, right there in the kitchen, flour on her face, exhaustion in her bones, and she'd kissed him back. Not the billionaire, not the homeless stranger, just Daniel. Complicated, flawed, trying. The engagement ring, her mother's simple gold band, sat in Daniel's pocket now. He'd been carrying it for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment. Waiting for Elena to decide, not him deciding for her. But this morning, watching her teach him croissants with the patience of someone who saw him, really saw him, he pulled it out. Elena, She turned, saw the ring, went very still. I know I don't deserve you. I know I lied. I know I hurt you. But you taught me what it means to be seen, to be real, to matter for who I am, not what I have. And I want to spend the rest of my life learning how to be both people, the one with resources and the one with flour on his hands. With you, if you'll have me. Elena looked at the ring, at him, at the bakery around them, proof that broken things could be rebuilt, that trust destroyed could grow back stronger. That love wasn't about perfection, but about showing up every single day, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. One condition, anything, when we fight, and we will fight, you don't use money to solve it. You don't disappear into CEO mode. You stay present. You stay real. I promise. And I promise to trust you, even when I'm scared, even when it feels easier to push you away than risk being hurt again. She took the ring, slid it on her finger. It fit perfectly. Yes, Daniel Cross. I'll marry the billionaire baker who can't make croissants and cries during Pixar movies and sees me. All of me. They kissed in the kitchen, surrounded by the smell of bread and coffee, with dawn breaking over Savannah and a life they'd built from honesty and hard work and the courage to be vulnerable. 3 hours later, they heard a sound in the alley, that same sound that had brought them together. A cough, movement behind the dumpster. Elena and Daniel exchanged a look, went outside together, found a young woman, maybe 22, huddled in the rain, shivering and scared. Hi, Elena said gently. You okay? The woman looked up, wary. I'm fine. You're freezing. Come inside, just until the rain stops. Why would you do that? Daniel knelt down. Because someone did it for us once. Changed everything. The woman studied them, saw something in their faces, proof that kindness existed, that people could see you, that there was hope even in alleys behind dumpsters in the rain. She took Elena's hand. Inside, they made coffee and offered food and didn't ask questions. Just offered dignity. Just saw her. Later, after the woman left with a full stomach and Elena's phone number and the address of a shelter that could help, Daniel and Elena stood together in the kitchen. Think she'll be okay? Elena asked. I don't know, but she knows someone sees her now. That's a start. Elena leaned into him. We're really doing this, aren't we? Building a life together. Messy and complicated and real. Best thing I've ever built. Better than $1 billion company? Not even close. Outside, rain continued falling on Savannah. Inside, Rosie's kitchen glowed with warmth and possibility and the radical notion that seeing people, really seeing them, could change everything. That authenticity mattered more than performance. That trust could be rebuilt. That love could grow from honesty, even when honesty was hard. That sometimes the greatest wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in dignity offered and received. In courage to be vulnerable. In choosing every single day to see and be seen. Elena looked at Daniel, billionaire and baker, powerful and learning to surrender, complicated and real, and knew she'd made the right choice. Not the easy choice, the right one. And in her mother's kitchen, surrounded by bread and hope and second chances, she finally understood what Rosie had always said. Mija, real wealth, is being seen. Everything else is just noise. If you believe in second chances and the power of really seeing people, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now, because we share stories like this every week. Stories about authenticity, courage, and people finding their way back to themselves. Drop a comment below and tell us, have you ever had to rebuild trust after it was broken? What did you learn? And tell us where you're watching from. We love hearing from our community around the world. Smash that like button to help this message reach someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to be real. That hiding behind masks, whether money or fear or performance, only makes us invisible. That the bravest thing we can do is let ourselves be seen. Your story matters. Share it in the comments. We're listening.